In this video, we are going to briefly look at the effects of aging on the brain and cranial nerves, as well as homeostasis. From early adulthood onward, the brain mass actually declines. From a time the person reaches 80 years old, the brain weighs about 7% less than it did when you were a young adult. So even though the actual number of neurons doesn't decrease very much, the number of synapses actually declines. Associated with the decrease in brain mass, we have a decreased capacity for sending nerve impulses, and as a result, the processing of information actually declines as well. Conduction velocity also decreases, and because of this, your voluntary motor movements slow down and your reflex time increases. A cerebrovascular accident, or CVA, also called a stroke, is the most common brain disorder. What happens in a stroke is that there's destruction of brain tissue, which causes sometimes paralysis or a loss of sensation or some other neurological symptoms. Some of the most common causes of strokes are going to be internal bleeding, intracerebral bleeding, and this is from a blood vessel in the pia mater or in the brain itself. Also blood clots in the blood vessels around the brain as well. And sometimes cholesterol containing plaques that will actually block blood flow as well. Depending on the cause of the stroke, the treatments are going to be vastly different. Now, if it's caused due to a hemorrhage, you're going to need like blood clotting drugs in order to stop that bleeding. But if it is caused by a blood clot in the brain, then you're going to need some clot dissolving drugs in order to resolve that clot and get rid of it. A transient ischemic attack, or a TIA, this is a temporary neurological disorder or dysfunction, and this is usually caused to impaired blood flow to a part of the brain. And so with this kind of disease or imbalance, you would have dizziness, weakness, numbness or drooping of one side of the face. Even a headache or slurred speech can be symptoms of a TIA. Again, if a small clot is causing this type of attack, treatment would be some type of anticoagulant or anti-blood clotting drug. And it's important to treat this because as many as even 30% of people who have TIAs actually will develop into a stroke. Lastly, Alzheimer's disease. This is a disabling dementia where you have the loss of reasoning and ability to care for oneself, and it does affect more than 10% of the population over 65 years old in the United States. Even though the cause of most Alzheimer's disease cases is still largely unknown, there is some research to suggest that it's a combination of genetic factors, environmental or lifestyle factors, and also just the aging process itself can develop into Alzheimer's. There are mutations in 3 different genes that they're looking at in a lot of research of Alzheimer's disease. And that's the end of chapter 14.